Grace is not licensed to sin. A correlative study of Romans 6:1-2 and Titus 2:12-14. Opening Declaration. Bishop Michael A. McDaniel, CSI Critical Scripture Investigator, FBI. Forensic Bible Investigator. Senior Investigator of Westside Grace Ministries. The gospel of the grace of God is the power of God unto salvation. Romans 1:16. Yet Scripture is equally clear. Grace never grants permission for sin. Paul confronts this distortion head-on, both defensively in Romans and pastorally in Titus. Grace does not excuse sin. It educates, emancipates, and empowers the believer unto holiness. I. The false accusation against grace. Romans 6:1. What shall we say then? Shall we continue in sin, that grace may abound? Paul anticipates an objection reminding us that grace teaching was already being slandered. F in Romans 3:8. Key observation. The question assumes deliberate, habitual sin, epimenomente amartia, to persist, remain, dwell in sin. Grace is accused of creating moral carelessness. Romans 6:2. God forbid, how shall we that are dead to sin live any longer therein? Forensic note. God forbid, mianuto. The strongest possible Greek negation. Grace changes jurisdiction, not behavior management. 2. Grace does not tolerate sin, it terminates dominion. Romans 6:2. Positional truth, dead to sin. This is identity language, not behavioral advice. Death equals severance of authority, not annihilation of temptation. Cross-references. Romans 6:6. Our old man is crucified. Galatians 2:20. I am crucified with Christ. Colossians 3:3. For ye are dead, and your life is hid with Christ in God. 3 Titus 2 introduces grace as a teacher, not an excuse. Titus 2:11-12. For the grace of God that bringeth salvation hath appeared to all men, teaching us that, denying ungodliness and worldly lusts, we should live soberly, righteously, and godly in this present world. A grace as a pedagogue. Teaching, pedagogos. To train, discipline, educate. Same word family used for child training. Grace is not passive forgiveness, it is active instruction. B. What grace teaches us to deny. Ungodliness, asevia. Irreverence toward God. Worldly lusts, kosmikas epithemias. Desires governed by fallen systems. Grace does not negotiate with sin. Grace teaches denial. 4th. The shared logic of Romans 6 and Titus 2. Key forensic terms. Redeem, litroo. To purchase out of slavery. Purify, to cleanse for exclusive ownership. Peculiar, uniquely possessed. Zealous, eager, passionate, devoted. Grace creates ownership, not autonomy. 6. The theological conclusion. Grace does 4 things simultaneously. 1. Justifies the sinner, Romans 3:24. 2. Unites the believer with Christ, Romans 6:5. 3. Trains the believer in holiness, Titus 2:12. 4. Motivates godly living through hope, Titus 2:13. 7. Grace vs. license, a biblical verdict. License says, Christ died so I can sin. Grace says, Christ died so sin no longer rules me. Closing declaration. Bishop Michael A. McDaniel, CSI Critical Scripture Investigator, FBI. Forensic Bible Investigator. Senior Investigator of Westside Grace Ministries. Grace is not the permission to remain in what Christ died to free us from. Grace is the divine power that trains the redeemed to walk in righteousness while awaiting the return of Christ. For sin shall not have dominion over you, for ye are not under the law but under grace. Romans 6:14. Grace and peace.